What's up, Brew Crew? My name's Opie. Welcome back to my Brew City Garden. Hey, thanks for stopping by today. It's September 16th. It's a beautiful September day. It's about 77 degrees out here. You know, mid-level humidity. It's not bad at all. The sun's shining. It's absolutely gorgeous day, and it's a great day for a garden tour. So we're gonna take care of our mid-September garden tour today, and I got a few things to show you. Everything's looking pretty good. There's some good, there's some bad, there's some ugly, and we're gonna go through all of it. So as you can see, I got rid of the big club, and they gave me something a little sleeker. I got the whole Batman look going on now. Just need to get my grappling hook set up. I think we're going to take care of that on my follow-up appointment on Tuesday, so I can start swinging from buildings and all that cool stuff. So awesome. So I know it's been a few weeks. I know you guys are dying to see how the straw bale garden is looking here in mid-September. So without further ado, let's go check it out. Over here in my first row is where I planted all my cole crops. I put in some kohlrabi, which did okay. I put in some cabbage, and we never did get cabbage head development. However, we do have very large leaves that we can harvest and use to make cabbage rolls and put in soups and stews and stuff like that. So it's not a total loss. The broccoli, it really came in late this year, but I'm still harvesting broccoli heads. So I just had a phenomenal broccoli year when I didn't think I would get any broccoli at all. I'm really happy about that. And even being mid-September, this stuff really tastes great. It's a really, really delicious broccoli. It's not bitter. It's not overly strong. So I'm really happy with that. As you can see, I let a lot of this broccoli go to flower, and that's kind of twofold. I want to give the bees something to feed on late in the summer or into early fall, and if I get some seed stock out of it, even better. So with some early spring issues with the green beans, as far as having the rabbits came along and ate them up, these things really did really well, and I'm still harvesting loads of green beans. Actually, I have a bunch on here that I should probably get harvested today because they're getting a little bit on the large side, but that's fine. We typically put these like in a crock pot or something and cook them slow, and they turn out just delicious. Now, if you recall, this trellis full of green beans was planted in second-year bales. And it was a little trial that I wanted to do. I left the bales here from last year with the intentions of planting green beans in them again, as I did last year, just to see how well the second-year bales would work. And as you can see, the second-year bales work just fine. The only caveat is that second-year bales are broken down quite a bit at the beginning of the year, and they are kind of easy access for smaller rodents and animals to get to. So I did end up having to replant my green beans because the rabbits and perhaps the squirrels were coming in and feeding off the seeds and the new shoots. But after remedying the trials and tribulations we had, we have an excellent harvest this year, and it just turned out great. So no complaints there. And then over here, this is where I had planted my cantaloupe. As you can see, these cantaloupe have completely died off. I did get, I think, 4 or 5 melons. It wasn't a great year. Where I messed up was after I injured my hand, I didn't really get a chance to come out here and harvest these cantaloupe. So a couple of them just rotted on the vine, which I think really sped up the process of these things dying off. So really, we only harvested maybe 2 or 3 cantaloupe, and they were okay. They weren't real sweet. I probably could have gotten better ones at the farmer's market, but everything, it doesn't work out every time. So it's not a big deal. But we did get a couple cantaloupe, and it was okay. These vines are now no longer producing, and we'll try again next year. The summer squash, believe it or not, are still producing. And I think we've had our fill of yellow squash and zucchini for the year. But as you can see, they're looking pretty ragged. The powdery mildew is really taken over. The production has slowed down quite a bit, and probably within the next week or so, I will harvest what's left, and we'll pull the summer squash out for the year. Now, as you can see, the winter squash, these are butternut squash. These things are doing phenomenal. Even though they do have some powdery mildew coming on, they're really producing quite prolifically. This particular vine here was one of the butternut squash that I planted in the sides of the bales all the way back here next to the green beans. And that vine has reached probably about 30 feet now, right to where your feet are right now. So just an incredible growth out of these. I couldn't be happier, and we're definitely going to get plenty of butternut squash to keep for winter, and we're really looking forward to it. We really enjoy these. They're a great meal, and they're really fun to grow. The jalapenos did excellent this year, and I really need to get in here and go ahead and harvest everything that are on these plants. My jalapenos are, the green ones have the cracking on them that I spoke about earlier in the season, which is optimal for harvest, and some of them have even turned red, which is just fine. It just increases the flavor profile on the jalapenos, gives them a little bit sweeter flavor, even though they do have some heat to them. The cayenne peppers have been producing like gangbusters this year. I've already got a batch of hot sauce going, and it looks like I can harvest another round and make another jar of hot sauce. And as you can see, the carrots are just as happy as can be. Let's pull one of these up and see what they look like. Very nice. I've got several varieties of carrots planted. I'm not sure exactly which one this is. I'll have to go back and look. But as you can see, we're getting some really nice development in the carrots now, and we've got plenty of time. And I can keep these in the bales even in the winter if I wanted to. Of course, the growth is really going to slow down once the cold sets in. But we've got at least 4 weeks until our first frost, and I think that's going to be plenty of time for these to really fill out and develop well. Really happy with these carrots. We had some struggles early in the year, but it turned out good. So I'm really happy with that. And as you can see here, these carrots have filled out so well that they're actually hiding the bell peppers that are growing within. The Jimmy and Ardello peppers, these sweet peppers, are really doing very well. As you can see, these things are outstanding, super sweet, just as delicious as can be. The bell peppers, I'm still harvesting. Uh, Plenty of nice, beautiful bells. I got a couple of different varieties here, some different colors, some reds, some purples, and just some green California wonders. And these things really are a wonder. For growing in Zone 5, Wisconsin, the pepper harvest this year has been just phenomenal. It's been really good. So I'm really happy about that. Back here, as you can see, is the other variety of winter squash. This is the acorn squash, and it's really succumbed to the powdery mildew. And if you've been keeping up, you know that Wisconsin it's been wetter than this year than it's been in several years. So to keep the fungus and the powdery mildew under control has been almost impossible. But I'm not going to worry about it. We'll still get a small harvest of acorn squash, and we'll try again next year. If it doesn't work out one year, go back and try it again the next year. Chances are you'll have much better success. So as you may know, I tried growing eggplant for the first time this year. We'd never grown it before, and it's because we really don't eat it. And I thought, well, let's try to grow it, because actually I got the starter plants for like 25 cents a piece towards the end of the spring. And so I went ahead and just picked them up, said, what the hell, we threw them in. They grew just fantastic. I mean, the growth on these was better than I expected even. And I was thinking that, well, maybe eggplant fresh off the plant is better than what you would get in the grocery stores, which I think is true. But at the same time, our family really doesn't like eggplant that much. So what I find is I harvest these big, beautiful eggplants, and we're really not using them. And I'm giving them away to neighbors and whatnot. So with that being said, we'll probably save the room in the garden next year, leave the eggplant out, and put in something that we know is going to go on the table and that we're going to use. The Swiss chard, as always, has done incredible in the straw bales. I never have any complaints as long as we keep the bug damage to a minimum and keep the caterpillars out. The Swiss chard is always top notch, and we definitely use this, and we're always glad to throw this stuff on the table. Just a great little plant, Swiss chard. We'll always grow this. And then over here, the Brussels sprouts, they're starting to come along. They're starting to get little tiny sprouts on them. So it's gonna be a little while yet. I was gonna top them off a week or two ago, but I decided to go ahead and let them go. I am trimming the leaves up from the bottom, and I'll just keep an eye on them and see how well they do. Brussels sprouts in this area are really hit and miss from one year to the next. So we never know what we're gonna get. So far, it looks like we'll at least get a modest crop. The plants look really nice, really healthy, and we should really see some Brussels sprout development start to come on over the next few weeks as the weather really starts to cool down. So I've got high hopes for the Brussels sprouts. Everything looks great. In here somewhere is a watermelon, and I know there's a fruit or two in here, but it's so overgrown. It's like a jungle in here. So when I pull these eggplants out, we'll harvest some more chard. I'll see if I can find those watermelons in there and see how far along they're coming. Whether or not we'll get them to go to maturity, it's getting pretty late in the season. I don't know, we'll find out, but they're always fun to grow. So as far as the tomatoes in the straw bales, you know, these might be the best thing yet that grows in straw bales. Our tomato harvest out of these bales is always just incredible. I mean, unbelievable. If you have trouble growing nice tomatoes in a traditional garden, I really highly encourage you to at least grab a couple straw bales next spring and plant up some tomatoes and just see how well they do for you. I'm pretty sure that they may be just the best tomatoes you ever grow. As you can see, I've got plenty on the vine here, and it's time for me to come through and get these harvested. Some of these plants are starting to green up just slightly. I have not fertilized in 3 or 4 weeks now, and that's just because it's coming to the end of the season and I'm ready for these tomatoes to come to maturity. So I did stop fertilizing these just for that reason, and they just look incredible and they taste even better. And of course, in the backyard garden where I put all my previous year's spent bales is easily probably the most fertile garden I've ever grown. And that's indicative of these tobacco plants, which are now pushing 9+ feet tall. Just incredible growth on these. I definitely got all the seed stock that I wanted, and I might go ahead and pull some of these leaves. I think I know somebody who might want to give them a try, so maybe I'll see what I can do with them. And with all the rain we've had this year, it's definitely had a huge effect on the yacon plants. My yacon this year is about as tall as I am, which is definitely the largest I've ever grown. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the tubers, the yacon tubers, look like this year, and how many rhizomes I'll get to propagate off of for next year. So really couldn't be happier with the yacon. Man, these things look awesome. So not only did the tobacco and the yacon do incredible in this back garden plot this year, but the potatoes really they just grew incredibly well, and it's getting just about time to harvest. I believe the Yukon Golds are ready to come out of the ground. In fact, they've probably been ready for a couple of weeks. The Kennebec Whites look like they're beginning to die off, and the Pontiac Reds still looking pretty green and pretty healthy. So might be a couple more weeks before I harvest these. I might pull them early. We'll just keep an eye on the weather. If it's going to be very cold and wet, we'll go ahead and get them out of the ground, but otherwise we'll leave them. These other potatoes, it's just about time to come out, and I really can't wait to see what we pull out of here this year. And of course, everybody's favorite, the ground cherries. You know, this is the plant that just keeps on giving and giving and giving. The plant itself looks like hell, to be honest with you. I think I really kind of underfed them this year. So next year I'll probably grow these in the same containers and we will feed them up substantially more than I did this year and see if that has any market improvement on the foliage. But as far as fruit development and harvest, we have got so many of these things. It's just been an absolute joy this year. Everybody loves to come out here and pick these ground cherries up off the ground and munch on them, the squirrels included. So Little Miss Brew Crew's lettuce has grown just phenomenally, and we've been using the cut and come again method to harvest this lettuce. It's delicious. Even though we've had some hotter days, there's no bitterness whatsoever. Really good stuff. So Little Miss Brew Crew did an incredible job planting her lettuce this year. And the okra, honestly, for being Wisconsin, I couldn't be happier. The okra looks great. I can harvest a couple pods a day, maybe a few, and they just keep coming on stronger and stronger. I'm gonna leave a few pods to maturity for the seed. And to be honest with you, for these getting in late and being root bound as they were, the okra has performed outstanding this year. Definitely love this stuff. We're gonna continue to grow this year after year now. So I've talked about the good, I've talked about the bad. Now let's talk about the ugly. So the tomato bucket system this year was a little lackluster. The blight, it's been so wet. The blight set in right around midsummer and kind of took hold. And then we got a couple of weeks ago where we just had like 10 days of just pouring rain nonstop, which washed all the nutrients out of these buckets. I did go ahead and add a little bit of all-purpose fertilizer to these tomatoes just to get them up to maturity. We're still harvesting just loads of tomatoes out of these buckets. So, I mean, it's not a complete fail, but compared to previous years, it's just not looking so great. But we'll change everything. We'll change all the soil out of these buckets for next year and start over. Hopefully it won't be nearly as wet next year. And it's just how it is. But this is definitely the ugly in the Brew City Garden. I certainly don't have any complaints with the popolo. This stuff has grown just wonderfully. I haven't added any fertilizer to this, no special attention. I water it when it looks like it needs some water, and this stuff just keeps growing and growing. I can't believe how tall this stuff got. It just started out these tiny little things, and these really look great. The flavor on these is excellent, and it's definitely very, it's akin to the cilantro for sure. I do have some cilantro growing over here, so I did a side-by-side taste test, and there is a difference, but it's not a huge difference, and they both have their own delicious caveats. So I really enjoy the popolo. This is definitely going to be a mainstay in my garden. I'm just hoping we can get this stuff to go to flower in time to harvest the seeds to propagate year after year. We'll see how that goes, and I'll keep you updated. The peas are doing great. I haven't tried to grow fall peas, but these things are turning out really well. And one of these varieties is already going to flower, so I'm pretty certain we won't have any issues getting peas this fall. All right, guys. Hey, thanks again for stopping by to visit the Brew City Garden today. I really appreciate it, and I love seeing you guys here. As you can see, in mid-September, the straw bale garden is still growing strong. Of course, some plants are petering out, but that's totally natural. That's just, no matter how you garden, some of these plants, they just don't last forever. Such as the summer squash and whatnot. We'll go ahead and pull those out. I could have planted another crop, a few weeks ago to keep the cycle going. But geez, man, we've had our fill of squash. I mean, we've eaten so much. I've frozen a bunch. We've given tons away to neighbors and friends. So I think we've had enough summer squash. And I want some of these bales open early enough in the season that I can relocate them to other parts of the property for other projects for next year. So you always got to keep in mind what you've got going on in the future, as well as what you've got going on right now. But as you can see, everything looks pretty good for the most part. And that's just a reminder of me why I love straw bale gardening so much. It's just a phenomenal, easy way to go. As you could see throughout the year, the setup was easy. The maintenance was very easy. Really, all we had to do was plant, keep an eye on things, and harvest. I literally didn't pull any weeds at all this year, other than just kind of mowing around the bales. But I mean, you would mow your yard anyway, so it really doesn't make any difference. But the ease and the production that we get out of our straw bale garden here in the Brew City Garden makes me go back to it year after year after year, and we can reuse those old bales in other places in the garden, and nothing goes to waste, and we just have a better garden every single year. And if you want more information, you can find me on Facebook at Brew City Gardener, and check out our Straw Bale Gardeners group called the Global Straw Bale Gardeners Collective. It's really just going to be a phenomenal source of information, and a great place for the community to come together and talk about what we love to do the most. Hey, if you found value in this video, do me a favor and give me a big thumbs up. I really appreciate that. Hey, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right there so that you can keep up with the Brew City Garden for the rest of this season and for seasons to come. All right, guys, make sure you stay tuned for next time. And until then, we'll see you.